Good Friday afternoon, evening, maybe even Saturday, wherever you are. Thanks for being here.
Hey, hey.
By the way, do you know where here is today?
Here is West Virginia.
No. Well, it could be. I don't know. So YouTube, Twitter, and dun, 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 we added LinkedIn this week just because I wanted to try it. So we're in 3 places at once. Well, almost. So using LinkedIn as our baseline, LinkedIn is about, not LinkedIn, YouTube. YouTube as our baseline is about 5 seconds behind as I'm talking right now. Twitter is about 20 seconds, and then LinkedIn is about 30 seconds. So it's sort of like watching it's sort of like watching a sports match. If you want to be most up to date, watch us on YouTube. If you want to just catch it wherever you're at, then the other two are fine. Does that make sense? Delay.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, by the way. My name is Darren. This over here is Victor, and we are the co-host of a podcast called DevOps Paradox that comes out on Wednesdays at 6 a.m. Eastern. Trying to get air today. And on Fridays when we're around, we are right here. Now, fair warning to everybody. Again, just warning. Today is March 1st, at least where we're at. Next Sunday is when daylight time kicks in the U.S., so then the next 3 Fridays are going to be weird, except for one where we won't be here at all. So we'll figure all that out. Can you believe it's that daylight time again already?
I don't. Do you see daylight anywhere around me?
No, you don't ever see the sun. Karen, good to see you. Okay, what is this? What is this? This is what you sent me last week?
I don't know. Did I send you a book last week?
On Crossplane?
If I did, yes. Then if I send it to you, then yeah.
Well, we did it last Friday because that's when we tried to load it in and see if it would figure things out, and it did to an extent.
Oh yeah, okay, exactly. It's
that book.
That was the first time it saw light of the day outside of my office. Yes. I published a book about Crossplane. That's what I did. That was my. So some people enjoy Christmas, family and stuff. I wrote a book, or half of the book during that period, and now it's live. If you're a member of the channel,
DevOps Toolkit.
I don't know.
We don't have it here.
Do we have members here?
Not here.
We don't.
No.
Okay, the other channel, and you didn't see the post, just drop me a note and I'll send you a free copy. Or it doesn't matter if you just send me a note, I'll send you a free copy. This is not how I earn money.
Actually, let me take it one step further because we've had some people. If you're not in the Slack workspace, go sign up in the Slack workspace and message him there.
Yeah, there you go.
Right, because that will get a few more people in there and they can see. It's a very low volume Slack workspace, very low volume. It's usually just us saying where we're going to be when. But there's also some conversations when they do kick up are usually pretty interesting to watch. So,
yeah,
cool. Stefan, good to see you. Martin, when do we stop the summer and winter nonsense? You said time stuff, nonsense? Never. Politicians are in charge of it, so that's why we'll never change.
Because the rule that was made before people had electricity so they can work on a field during daytime instead of night still makes a lot of sense.
I'm going to go ahead and put this in. We can answer this now because we've got enough to talk about today, but I've got one tool at the end. Are you using Apple Notes? You know, the built-in notes thing on macOS?
Apple,
or iOS?
No, I don't.
Okay. Well, you may not care about it, but it's interesting because I'm getting ready to move a bunch of old Evernote stuff. I was thinking, okay, I'll go to Evernote to Notion. And it's like, more than likely, in my lifetime, which is probably about 40 years left, I probably will stay on Apple. I doubt I'll go back to Windows. So I'll probably just use Notes for those kinds of things, right? Because end-to-end encrypted, all the other things that are good. Anyway, I think what Stefan's asking here, what is the best executive pitch to use Crossplane instead of Terraform plus Ansible? Is there one?
One way I rarely answer questions directly, so I very often go philosophical and answer them with another question. Is think about what are the reasons why you think Kubernetes is a good thing. And if you have no reasons why Kubernetes is a good thing in general, then Crossplane is definitely not for you, right? But if you do have a reason to use Kubernetes, then my question would be, why do those reasons apply only to containers running in the same cluster and not to everything else? Whatever those reasons are, right? For some people, it would be because we can do GitOps. For some other people, will be drift detection and reconciliation. For some other people, would be because we can extend the API and so on and so forth. But instead of me listing reasons, ask yourself, what are the reasons to use Kubernetes? And once you compile the list, ask yourself, why does that apply only to containers running in the same cluster?
Hopefully that helps. That was a very good non-answer. I'm pleased.
Yeah, I don't want to do marketing kind of for anybody, including the project I'm involved. So, I have a rule, and Darin probably knows it. I never compare so when I join a company, that's almost always company behind an open source project, in this case, Crossplane. And the moment I joined Upbound, I stopped comparing Crossplane to competitors or speaking about competitors precisely to avoid being labeled like, oh, Victor is now saying this because he works with Crossplane, right? So you will not hear me compare Crossplane with Terraform or Pulumi or Ansible again. Unless I change the company. If I change the company, then that rule will apply to some other type of tools. And then you can ask me anything you want to tell you why how Crossplane differs from Terraform or anything else.
You're trying to stay above board because you do appreciate the other tools. They have their place.
I do appreciate the other tools. I see the value in other tools. I see the pros of other tools. I see the cons. But if it's related to Crossplane, right? If I say this is better in Crossplane, it will be, of course, because you work in Upbound. If I say this is better in Terraform, it will be, oh, is he now being ironic, or is he getting fired, or what's going on, right? Kind of whatever I say, it's not going to land well.
Don't read too much into that. I guess is what I'm also hearing too.
What you can read behind the lines is that I joined Crossplane for a reason, not because that was the only place I could work.
You mean you couldn't go down the corner and work at the grocery store? That was off the list?
Yeah, for example, that was the alternative, yes.
Okay. Speaking of Kubernetes, let's go into that today. Why is that not loading? Oh, I'm trying to reprogram my buttons and I didn't get them all done yet. So things aren't working as expected. How to upgrade Kubernetes. We attempted to tell people what they should do. And much like Victor just said, we didn't give a straight answer. Other than, there were a couple of places where we did give a couple of straight answers. But I think the biggest thing in understanding this is if you decide to go Kubernetes, you're all in, but you're not willing to upgrade once every 4 months, 8 months, Kubernetes might not be the best thing for you.
Exactly. And I think that's important sentence. It's not that it's not necessarily, it's not a question whether that's a good idea to update quarterly or upgrade quarterly or no. That's not the question. But it could be a good idea. It could be a bad idea. But if you chose Kubernetes, you subscribed to that idea that you upgrade quarterly. That's what you signed up for. Otherwise, don't use it.
Whether you knew it or not, that's what you signed up for.
Exactly.
So then you have to make a decision, okay, what do we do? So anyway, because I don't live day-to-day in Kubernetes. In fact, I just spun up a new cluster this week to do some testing for something else. I was like, how do I do this again? And I pulled out my notes. It's like, wait, what is this? So, which is fine. I mean, it's, I have other things that I chase on a daily basis. So next week's episode, by the way, episodes come out Wednesdays, 6 a.m. Eastern. Next Wednesday's episode is with Abby Bankser, where we talk about the, help me, platform maturity model.
Yeah,
what it is.
platform maturity model. Yeah.
Yeah. Very interesting conversation. And we go down the rabbit hole of Fortnite. So just be listening for Fortnite. It'll make sense when you hear that. Okay. Octopus bought Codefresh.
Yeah.
Congratulations to both companies. We had Paul on towards the end of last year, I think. It was late in the year. He's the CEO president of Octopus. And I know a few people that are still active at Codefresh, still working. So this is good for everybody, I think.
Yeah.
What we don't like seeing is when companies go away. That's a bad thing. We like people staying employed. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, but that's not the same thing as companies going away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a reason for companies to go away. I don't think this is one of them. That's my personal opinion. I won't step any further than that. Okay. So anyway, congratulations to both companies. There was a lot of announcements this week, CNCF related. Number one, Linkerd. Actually, this happened last week, and I didn't pull it in because I was waiting for the dust to settle. I want to talk about this a little bit. So, new Linkerd 2.15 and all of the other things, right? That's fine. No big deal. Mm-hmm. What seemed to get everybody all up in a big twist, I don't know what the proper way is to say that elsewhere in the world, got people really upset, is a new model for stable releases. So at this point, reading this, Linkerd 2.15.0 and all future stable releases will be delivered as Buoyant Enterprise for Linkerd releases only. Period. End of story. Now, BEL is free for non-production use and always free for production use with employees less than 50 or organizations less than 50 employees.
I think that the outcry over this was quite exaggerated.
I agree, because initially that was my knee-jerk reaction was, how dare they? And then I thought to somebody else that's in the space, and it made complete sense to me. And that, let me tell you who it is. It's ChainGuard. They don't, out in the open, you get the latest image, whatever latest is.
Oh, to be honest, ChainGuard is not CNCF project, so it's slightly different. But so let's put it this way.
Okay.
How many of the CNCF projects are having stable releases? And even those that do, excluding Kubernetes, how stable they are really stable, right? This is now basically the way I interpret that post is, okay, you have Linkerd releases open source just as you always did, right? Releases keep coming in, but one of our businesses as Buoyant is to actually have stable releases, right? Releases that we validated, and this is probably not community validating. We as a company are validating releases every quarter, a year, whatever the cadence is, right? That's very common. Kind of Red Hat and CentOS. Kind of what's the major difference between the two? Stable releases. I mean, before CentOS disappeared and what's not, right? Yeah, you still have Linkerd releases as you had before. At least that's how I understand that message, right? It's not that you're not losing anything. You're just having the option that you're a company, you want to pay for stable releases and support and whatever else comes with it. And why not?
Again,
I might not be informed. I might be wrong. So correct. Anybody correct me.
Right. But I'm looking at this point. This version number 2.15.0 and all future stable releases.
Yes.
If we're not lawyers, right? Anybody else listening to us, we're not lawyers. But if I want stable, it's not strange to ask to pay for it.
Exactly.
I don't have a problem with that. If I can still get the streaming release, I'm calling, I don't know what they call their weeklies or whatever it is, right? Things that just come out. But if everybody's up in arms, thank you, that was the phrase I was looking for before, finally clicked in my head. Over this, it's like, okay, how would you like to be working for Buoyant? and maybe making up examples, having somebody have a meeting at the end of Friday. It's like, hey, we can't make payroll next week.
I think that's where, so I did not really think it was a wise move from HashiCorp to change the license, which is a completely different level than this. But one thing that I feel is very important to understand is that there is no bigger open source project, so excluding tiny libraries and what's not, that is not financed, that doesn't have dedicated per people with salaries working on it. Right? There is no such thing. Almost a majority of successful CNCF projects have companies above it, and they are paying people. They're earning money, of course, but they're also paying people full-time to work on those projects. Money needs to somehow come for those salaries. Somehow it needs to come. Now, whether this is the best, this is a good business model or some other business model, that's a longer debate. But let's face it, there is no CNCF without dedicated maintainers, and there are no dedicated maintainers without salaries. It's as easy as that.
Okay, so let's step away from the up in arms. Native sidecar support, that's cool.
Great.
But for me, this one is SPIFFE.
Yes,
you know how,
SPIFFE.
Thank you, SPIFFE. But where am I trying to get to? Mesh expansion, blah blah blah. Where was it? Anyway, they called it support for VM workloads, but I didn't look that. To me, VM workloads is cool, right? Because that's where I still live. Is I still live VMs. Istio can't do VMs yet today, can they? I'm asking. I don't know.
Istio can do yes.
Oh, they can? Okay. Again, that's why I haven't looked. So anyway, we're bringing in gateway API and non-gateway API interfaces. I mean, cool. Linkerd, Istio. Take a pick. Is that where we're at today with both of those two? Depends. Yeah. Where do you fall right now?
Was it for me?
Yeah. Where do you fall between if you had to install Linkerd or Istio? Again, going back to give me the non-answer. Which one would I pick today? Like, is it dependent on the workload? I mean, obviously, if I'm going VMs, it doesn't matter anymore now that it's parity.
Cilium.
Oh, you just go Cilium and be done with it? Okay.
No, I mean, I'm going to go with Cilium no matter what, below that layer.
Okay.
Then I would ask myself, do I need on top of it something that Cilium doesn't offer me? And then, you would go with Linkerd or Istio or Kuma or whatever you're using, right? There are use cases where but the starting point to me is Cilium.
Okay. All right. We won't spend any more time on this. But anyway, a lot of people up in arms. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Speaking of Istio, the Istio-based service mesh add-on for AKS. So it's now you can just add in Istio right into your AKS cluster. You going to do that this weekend?
Again,
after Cilium? After Cilium? Okay. Anyway. It's available, right? So it's nice. When these things keep coming in as part of the native platform-ish, where you can opt in easily, that will help adoption, I think.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and that also steers adoption, to be honest, right? Because if you need a service mesh and you're using managed Kubernetes service like AKS or EKS or GKE, right? There is a strong chance that you're going to say, okay, which solution comes out of the box, right?
And then if it comes out of the box unless you're a nerd, you might just take it out of the box. It's like, oh, yeah, I need that. Checkbox. Now,
it's a good start. And then you can change later and say, oh, I need this special feature from here. Excellent, change it, right? But that's usually a starting point.
Yep. Well, this second paragraph is the key part. The add-on builds on top of open source Istio. Here's the key point. And provides additional benefits such as compatibility testing done with Istio between supported versions of AKS, minor patch version upgrades, and all the other things.
So the way I would interpret that is that AKS comes with their own stable release of Istio. And by stable, I mean stable on AKS. That's what it is.
Correct. They are baking it and testing it. And look, if you take our Istio, it's going to work. If it doesn't work, it's our problem, not yours. Even though it's affecting you, it's our problem to fix.
Exactly.
So that's key. So anyway, I thought that was cool. And I think the last one was Falco graduated this week.
Oh, that was there is a story around that. It took like a year to graduate, or 11 months, something like that. It was a painful graduation. Well done, congrats. Nothing to do with, not the fault of Falco for that graduation being painful, but congrats, yeah.
I think the key part to that up in arms is today's episode all about up in arms. Is I saw some people reacting. It's like, what do you mean it took a year to do that? It's simple. You should just do that. And then they started peeling back the onions. It's like the layers of the onion, and went, oh, okay.
Yeah, there was licensing issue of one of the libraries used in the background that wasn't really spotted early on and things like that.
But anyway, key part, we have more people moving out of sandbox and incubating into finally graduated. So,
yeah, graduation is very important for the projects because graduation is a sign of maturity, right? Kind of, if you're choosing among CNCF projects, unless you have a very good reason, you're going to choose the graduated project because it passed certain steps and had to prove itself in a way. So it's a good thing.
Yep. Okay. Moving on. Finally now, GitHub has turned on lack of secret leaking on all public repositories. Period. End of story.
Okay, so what all repos?
You could have opted in.
It's not opt-in. Okay, now it's opt-out model, I guess. Or
no.
You're not
for a public repository. Well, yeah. If you any push to a public repository, you'll have the option to remove the secret from your commits, or if you deem the secret safe, bypass the block. Right. Used to, you would have to opt in to be able to do these things. Now it's just there. So small, but big at the same time. This post here, engineering success, prioritize progress over grand overhauls. In other words, stop treating every project like a greenfield project. That's how I'm going to say this. Very long. That's not very long. The pitfalls of going big, unforeseen complexity. Let's just go rewrite this. How hard can it be? It's only been here for 20 years. Resistance to change, delayed feedback. Anyway, when Big Bang might work, okay, because there are times where it might work. Fundamental tech shifts. We are moving from mainframe to microservices.
Yeah.
Okay, that might work. Security catastrophes. Everything hit the fan, and you've got a nuke and pave. Well, that's a good thing. Regulatory deadlines and greenfield. Greenfield makes sense. So anyway, it's not a super long post. I think Victor and I are going to be digging into this one a bit more for a podcast because it was a good write-up.
Nice.
I saw this. Have you ever heard of the XY problem?
XY problem? No.
XY problem. Okay. So there's a site here. It's xyproblem.info. What is it? Okay, the XY problem is asking about your attempted solution rather than your actual problem. Okay. So here it is. User wants to do X. User doesn't know how to do X, but they think they can stumble away to, if they can get to an X solution, if they can manage to do Y. They don't know how to do Y either, so they ask for help with Y. Others try to help with Y, but are confused because Y seems like a strange problem wanting to solve. After wasted time, it becomes clear that the user really wants help with X, and Y wasn't even a suitable solution for X.
Oh, this reminds me so much of my professional services days.
Mm-hmm.
This was a daily conversation I had with, not using those exact words, but that was a daily conversation for me. So
there's two examples here only. Noob doesn't actually want the last three characters in a file name. He wants the file extension. So why ask for the last three characters? And goes through here through Bob and Feline. How can I echo the last three characters in a file name? Okay, you can strip it out. okay, why do you really want the 3 letters? Do you want the extension? Well, yes. Well, there's no guarantee that every file name will have a 3-letter extension, like one we're going to see later today. So blindly grabbing the 3 characters does not solve the problem. And this is how you do it. Anyway. I thought this was a good... I had not heard of this before, even though I've lived it much like you. It's like... Exactly. Especially as a consultant, you start to ask, okay, what is the problem you're really trying to solve?
Yeah, because in consultants in general, usually a customer, client company requests, I want this. I want Mesos. Yes, okay. And if you do good at your job, you don't give them Mesos, you ask, but why? And then you ask why and why and why and why and why until they get tired and you realize that they want to run Kafka or whatever the motivation was behind it, right? And the initial solution might still be good, but what I'm really trying to say is that people usually ask you to implement a solution instead of telling you what they're trying to accomplish. And that's a wrong way to see things.
Yep. Romans has this. XY problem is often seen in tickets where people state what that needs to be changed instead of what problems need solving. Yep.
Exactly.
I'm going to drop back here. We didn't talk about this. I haven't verified this. Have you heard about this?
Not for releasing open source, but it makes perfect sense. I mean, vWorks is no more.
Right.
They're not going to earn money from enterprise, so why not release it as open? I mean, I would do that. If I had an enterprise product and I go bust, no more, I would open source it.
Yep. One more comment here, we'll move on. Once a manager told me to be a good engineer, you need to be like a doctor and listen very well to your patient. Look, in the US, people only have 5 minutes, so they have to listen really well. Because 70% of the time, you need to be spent learning their problem. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. Okay. Anyway, that's the XY problem. Dagger functions. Have you played with this yet since it came out this week?
Not yet, but if I understood right what it does, it makes perfect sense. Because my interpretation of it, and I'm probably wrong, is that Dagger has libraries that you use all the time, and those libraries need to be compiled into myriad of languages because Dagger supports many, and probably writing functions then going through that pain is so much easier instead of having native libraries in your own language. That's my guess. Haven't tried it yet. I might be wrong.
Yep. Anyway, so that was announced this week. I'm trying to remember if I was sad or not. Usual language using a Dagger SDK, and then there's developer function. You find developer guides for functions for Go, Python, and TypeScript with more TypeScript. More coming soon. Good. Bring Java, please. Thank you. I had to say it because that's who I am still. Capacitor, a general purpose UI for Flux. Did you see this?
No. I bet it's Laszlo. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen it yet. No.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
Maintainer Flux. He goes through a little thing here. Commandless Flux Observation. Anyway, so if you're running Flux and you need a UI, Capacitor is the official answer today.
Very cool.
Okay. That was one tool. The other tool is Tart. I'm probably going to do a video on this. So it's a virtualization tool set to build, run, and manage Mac OS and Linux virtual machines on Apple Silicon. Thankfully, I have 2 Apple Silicon machines. So I can so if I need to spin up Monterey or I need to spin up Sonoma or Ventura.
It's like Vagrant, I guess, for macOS.
That's what it's feeling like right now, yeah. I'm not, because the one thing I'm looking at was integrations and then self-hosted CI. So set up a task, pull that image in, and then you can do things within that thing. I haven't played with it yet, but I got to play with it some this weekend. So anyway. That is Tart. Tart.run. Okay, your videos this week. We're almost to the AI part. We won't spend... Okay, once we get to the AI part to where I actually do something, you have to put me on the clock. Because we talked about that. We just sort of... I I'll take the blame for it. Went on too long last week. So it's not full demo, but what I'm going to be showing you, if you're using Apple Notes, is interesting.
I'll do what I do with you choose. You just tell me the time frame and I'll ring the gong.
It'll be 10 minutes. I'm going to want 10 minutes unless you want me to do 5. And then we can talk about that. Anyway, this week you talked about Argo CD is broken, not broken. The way it handles the events, or synchronization is broken, not the events.
Synchronization, exactly. Yeah. Now, this might be an opportunity to make something very clear because I got a lot of positive and a lot of backlash on about that. So the message is that Argo CD is, in my opinion, the best tool for GitOps. I'm not trashing Argo CD. I'm just saying that there is a room for improvement. I do the same thing with other projects. And there are very few that I stake my ground in, and I believe that they are absolutely amazing and everybody should use them, and that's Argo CD. So I do not think that Argo CD is a bad project. I just think that there is a room for improvement. That's all.
So anyway, that was that video. You also had a second one this week, introducing Crossplane.
Yeah, that's the book that I published, and I happen to, and that this is a different format of the same thing, right? This is book in the video format, first episode. Initially, there will be 5, just as there are 5 chapters in a book, and then more will come over time.
Okay. And this week's You Choose with Whitney, talking authentication.
Yeah. Couple of more hours, I think, left to vote, and then that's it.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up.
Those two.
I want to vote for You Choose. Do I need an invite to the CNCF Slack? Could not log in. Do you know?
Yes, there should be invite to CNCF Slack. I can find it now. Well, probably.
Isn't it right here in the? It's in the link. And we're saying that link is busted.
Linked to the. It's not the best because it's linked to the. What's the? Oh, my brain stopped. Link to the workspace or the channel, right?
Right.
But I'm not sure how the registration works, so I cannot find it now. But anyways, you need to be registered in Google CNCF Slack. Should be easy to discover. I don't have a link at hand now.
Okay, so that's not what this is right here. That's in the page itself.
Yeah, it takes you there, and it's quite possible that we made a mistake and that actually we are sending a link without
to the wrong place.
Sending a link to register to CNCF.
Got it. Okay, cool. A couple of AI stories. First off, there was one from eBay, cutting through the noise. 3 things we've learned about generative AI and developer productivity. Read it. It's a good post, but I'll go ahead and give you the 3. The 3 things that they learned were... Oh, wait. It wasn't 3 things they learned. It's the 3 tracks. Existing offerings. So they expanded their use of GitHub Copilot. And then figured out how to A/B it. Okay. What worked and what didn't work. So this is the 3 sections here. They state the story, what was good and what was bad. So go back and read those. Post-trained and fine-tuned LLMs. Okay, good. And then an internal knowledge database, which is what we sort of played with last week with anything LLM, right? In theory, we could have stuffed everything in there and everything would have worked just joy, joy, happy, happy, but it didn't, which was fine. They actually have done 2 releases since last Friday and have made some changes, but I haven't gone back to run our use cases from last week. Anyway, good post from eBay. I mean, if people are doing anything at scale, it's going to be eBay. So that's a good one. This one, I banged my head against the wall. Stack Overflow and Google Cloud announced strategic partnership to bring generative AI to millions of developers.
Oh, but that's easy to explain. I think that Google did that recently with Reddit as well. So
it's the money. Yep.
I would say rather than money, because let's face it, Google can scrape Stack Overflow. Which one was it? Stack Overflow?
Yeah.
Can scrape it just as it can scrape Reddit, right? But they can pay some money, right? And then avoid potential lawsuit in the future. That's how I interpret it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that more and more such deals will be made. Now, Reddit, first and foremost Reddit, and after that Stack Overflow are probably the two most important sites for AI, right? Most important. And the reason is that there are very few places where people use massively for real stuff, right? If you just scrape internet, vast majority of websites are not informative anymore. They're all marketing websites, right? They're all e-commerce. Whatever you Google, the first result comes from some e-commerce site that is trying to just doing whatever needs to be done to be optimized for Google and sell you something, right? Now, Reddit, Stack Overflow, a few are actually the real sources of information these days.
This paragraph right here sums it up. Stack Overflow and Google Cloud are partnering, blah, 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 bringing together Gemini for Google Cloud with Stack Overflow's trusted community-vetted knowledge. That trusted community-vetted. Even if they downvote it, at least it's been vetted, right? That's fine. Gemini was already trained on extensive collection of publicly available. Now, Gemini will provide developers with suggestions, code, and answers from Stack Overflow utilizing the new Overflow API.
Smart move. I mean, those are the real sources. Like, if you go now to Google and Google, I don't know, which car I should buy and I have this amount of money, you're going to be redirected. First result is going to be a car retailer or a magazine that is paid to write something, right? If you go to Reddit, you're going to get better information. This is now without AI. So if Reddit and Stack Overflow and similar sites have the information you really need, then that's the information that AI should use to train itself.
Yep. The first set of new integrations and capabilities between the two will be available first half of 2024 and previewed at Google Cloud Next in April.
Nice.
So
I'm excited about that one.
I mean, think about it. That's second week of April. That is basically forward to 5 weeks from today. And they're going to be showing this.
Do you remember how a while ago, I'm pretty sure that, because I repeated this many times, and I'm pretty sure that I repeated it in this show at least a couple of times, my description of AI right now is that it reduces the time I'm spending on Stack Overflow when development is concerned, right? To me, AI, like ChatGPT, Bard, what's not, are advanced versions of Stack Overflow, right? And this is now bringing the full circle back there, right? Instead of me going there, I ask AI. Now AI is going to give me that information for real, faster, digested. Brilliant.
Yep. Okay. Two more things, and then I'll get to the tool. API RAG. This was interesting. Retrieval augmented generation for semi-structured data using APIs. The video will make a lot more sense than me trying to explain it. So watch the video. It's not super long. But anyway, they go through how does it work. But the picture actually here is pretty good. This picture is one still from the video. You make the request. That's number one. Number two, it's headed towards the LLM. Okay, question analysis, function, whatever. It figures out from there, okay, can I just return the answer, or do I go over to the API, get a response, then take that response, send it down to the LLM, and then send it back up?
So is that API basically doing what you would normally do if the request is returned directly to you, right? Kind of.
Yep.
Like, are you sure about that? And then instead of me saying, are you sure about that, then API is, okay.
Yep. That's a simplistic way to look at it. The video is actually really good. I think it's 5 or 6 minutes. It's not very long. Looks interesting. And then in parallel to that, there was another one there's this rapid fire of this whole API concept to where you've got LLM or LLM sitting on there and also APIs sitting underneath there. It's just happening all the time. So there's this AI router. Same concept as what we just saw with API RAG. Different, but similar, right? In that same family. Okay. So I didn't do anything else. Okay. Here's the toy for today. So don't start the clock yet. Don't start the clock, but give me just a minute.
I'll start.
Just have it ready. Okay. So what this does is it allows you to use Ollama locally to chat internally inside of Apple Notes. Okay, I know you don't use Apple Notes, but you're at least familiar with it. It comes with, you can summarize notes, ask questions, craft prompts, all without leaving notes. So you're staying inside of Apple Notes. And it's using a local, I'll show you where it's doing it because you could fork it and make it different. It comes with 9 built-in prompts and you can add your own custom prompts. So what does that mean? Okay. I'm going to load this up in a minute. I haven't installed it on this machine. I installed it on another machine. So I'm going to show you what happens and a couple of the hiccups I ran into in case you try this and get frustrated. Now you can start the clock. Okay.
Start the clock.
Yep. Give me 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Yep.
Go.
Thank you. Okay. So from the Notes Ollama site, again, if you're watching this on YouTube, the link to all this stuff's already there. So you can click over to that while you're listening to me go through this. So you go to the GitHub site. If you go into Notes Ollama, this is a Swift app. Remember they talked about, actually, I lied here. Notes Ollama, look at the README. The README will show you a little video, which if you don't watch the video, you'll be really confused how to use this thing. Once you understand that, you can modify the custom prompts. It's inside, once it's installed locally on your machine, you can make the changes. I haven't installed on this machine yet. So there's a command JSON file. Let me show you what that looks like, though, what you were going to see once you get there. So Notes Ollama, commands JSON. And here are all the basic prompts. And you're saying, okay, or commands. So with a name and a prompt. And it says, here's the prompt for this thing. No big deal. Remember I said this is local only. Again, they're trying to keep it as private as possible. If you go under services, again, even if you're not a Swift programmer, this will make sense. And you go to the Ollama service, you'll notice they are hard coding localhost 11.4.3.4, which is the standard port for Ollama. You can't override it. So if you wanted to send it off to somewhere else, let's say you had Ollama, like I do. I have Ollama running on another server where I'd actually want to hit it just because. I would have to build my own, which isn't that big of a deal. But then you're breaking okay, I'm leaving my machine. I want to stay on my machine. Right? Yeah. So introducing a slight problem there. Okay, anyway. The reason why I found out about this is I was brew updating some stuff today, and I'm really starting to pay more attention to new formula from brew. And like I saw this come up through that. So if we go out to brew sh, I'm going to look for Notes Ollama. I'm going to copy that. Let me stop sharing this screen and let me share my whole screen and screen 2. Okay. And share it. There we go. All right. So I'm going to go down to my shell, time check. I'm going to brew install cask Notes Ollama. Okay, it's installed. Now here's the key part to this. When I pull it up, you're not going to see this. I'm actually going to start it. Okay, download it from the internet. You should see that. Yep. Click OK. All right, I have to, once you do it the first time, you have to first authorize it because it's got to be able to get access to get to Apple Notes. So I click on System Settings. I'll pull it over here. I will turn on Notes Ollama and put in my password, which you better not be able to see. Nope, good. Okay, so now it's authorized. Next time, try selecting some notes. Well, I've got notes open, but I'll get it in a second. And click on Got It. All right. Now, there's no indicator up in the menu bar that it's running. It got very confusing. In fact, I'm going to close notes here because things are going to get more weird in a second. Okay. But if I go into Activity Monitor, what I'm going to see if I look for Ollama is I'm going to see Notes Ollama running there. Right? It's just running as a background daemon. Now,
you got the negative point for not using PS. I'll subtract 30 seconds from your time.
I'm fine. Okay, whatever. Now, in theory, I need Ollama running too. Well, I currently don't have Ollama running. So what's going to happen when I open Notes, which I'm getting ready to bring back over to that screen, is if you were to watch the video it's going to say, hey, you need to work with this thing. Well, this thing doesn't exist down here. I was fighting with this and fighting with this until I finally, okay, this is dumb. So what has to happen is you already have to have Ollama running. If I was to bring up Ollama now, it's not going to know what to do. It doesn't. So I've got to kill Notes Ollama, force quit it. No, I'm just saying what it takes. Okay, goes away. I'm going to Ollama serve because I want everybody to see what happens when we start it up. There's Ollama serve. And what I'm going to do now is, what am I going to do? I'm going to restart it. Now watch what happens down in the Ollama log. I know it's a little small, but you'll see movement there in a second. If we take a look at the Notes Ollama, watch what happens when it starts up. Yeah, I can check automatically. That's fine. Don't show that again. Okay, good. All right, so you can see there was a get API tags call there when Notes Ollama started up. So once it starts up, if it doesn't get that from the beginning, it doesn't appear to retry. I haven't gone through the code yet to figure that out. And it's not an extreme thing. Now, but also notice that in Notes, there's nothing for me to do yet, right? There's supposed to be a widget there. So the key part here is you have to have Ollama up first. You have to have Notes Ollama running, and then you can start Apple Notes. Once you've figured that out, everything is fine. Okay. So watch what happens when I highlight do llamas have horns? Notice there was a little widget that I wish I could zoom in on this. I guess I could. Well, actually I can on this one. So I highlight that, click on it, and I can summarize selection, explain selection, expand. So let's go ahead and answer this. Now remember this answer, no, llamas do not have horns. Okay. So I can change the formatting on this. Like if I would have been smart, I would have done body on this anyway and changed this to, like I should have already, that was the other thing that was a little rough. Actually, let me delete this. What you want to do is if you want to do something for the title, you want to go ahead and press enter to get down into the body first, and then go off and do whatever it is you want to do next. Actually, it didn't, maybe because I did that first time anyway. Body, no bold. So then what I can say is I can right click that or click on this again. I could rewrite it in active voice. Right. All these things. Now remember, I could change my commands. So if I was to open up a new tab and go to applications, nope, that's not right. Where is it? Okay. How much time do I have left?
You have more than almost 3 minutes.
Okay, good. So if I go to, where am I? Notes Ollama, show package contents. Contents, this will be easier anyway. And then what was the, where did they say to go to? Dang it. Go into contents resources. I should have known that. I used to do this kind of development. Resources, and there's commands JSON. I'll open that with text edit, Visual Studio Code. Let's see what blows up this time. Okay, so there are all the prompts. So I could add a new prompt. Now I haven't tried this yet at all. So give me a name for the prompt.
Translate to Spanish.
Okay. Translate to Spanish. And prompt. I'm going to go over now because I'm having a hard time typing. Act as a writer and translator. Rewrite translator. Rewrite translate the text. Translate the text to Spanish. And let me go ahead and copy the rest of this. Right? I mean, I don't feel bad copying and stealing that, right? That's fair. All right, so I save the file. And throw that back over here.
Will it pick it up?
Well, that's what we're going to see.
In 50 seconds.
All right. So let's see. So I got to highlight it first just so I see the widget. It doesn't. So I'm going to have to close notes.
It's probably loaded when you start.
I probably got to restart Notes Llama, which would make sense, right? Because
I mean, it's not something you change all the time on the fly, so that's fine.
Right. That's fine. So we'll go to Notes Llama. Again, I haven't looked at the code to see if it does a force refresh or not underneath the hood. All right. So that's that. So let's go ahead and restart Notes Llama. We can see another get there. And then what we're going to do, we are going to restart Notes. And then let's see. We should see translate to Spanish. Is that close?
That's your 10 minutes. Close. Close.
So llamas, is that even right? Do llamas have horns?
Llamas no tienen cuernos. That's correct.
That's the correct answer.
That's correct. That's the correct answer, yes.
Okay. So it worked.
Nice.
I'm shocked.
Nice. How do you feel being under pressure?
It's another day at the office. Okay. Anyway, I think so. Here's to me the cool thing about this is it's not a standalone app. It's extending if I'm using Apple Notes, which I'm going to because I'm getting ready to migrate things in.
Yeah.
This now gives me a tool. Well, multiple tools because I have to have a Llama running, I have to have Notes Llama running, blah, blah, blah. That will give me the... It's just built in. To me, it's quote-unquote built in without it being built in.
Yeah, but something similar. Like the other day I got notification that if I pay extra money to Google, I get something similar for my Google Workspace because I have a custom Google Workspace, right, and stuff like that. I was too cheap to accept that offer, but that's similar concept, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I could see myself using this.
Yeah.
I don't need it on all my machines. I just need it on the machine that I'm doing most of my work on. By the way, the model under the hood for that one was, what was I using for this one? I don't remember. What model am I using? I'm looking at my logs now. I think it's using the Llama 2 model. That's what I have set up on this machine by default.
Nice.
So anyway, it worked out instead of Mistral. Anyway, okay. Completely different topic. We'll do this and we'll get out of here. On completely different topic, started exploring programming in VR. Very interesting. It's all visual. Curious about visual. Node-RED. So Node-RED to me is interesting, but I don't see it as being interesting for most of the things that I do.
Yeah, I haven't tried it yet. So
you haven't? Oh yeah. I used Node-RED a few years ago, and it was good for the use case I was using it for, but that's not the kind of work I do anymore. So I think it's pretty cool. Yes, the gong was there. Thank you. Very good. Nikos, good to see you. You can watch it back to the beginning. Okay, a couple of things while I'm thinking about it. So, I mean, whether you use Notes and Llama or not, your call, right? I can see a use case for it, for me, especially that I'm moving everything out of Evernote for that. I still use Notion for other things, but not for like notes I need to keep. Yeah. And certain ones I can share. Like sharing is becoming more important. So my wife needs to see them. My daughter might need to see some. So good, I can do all that without having to pay extra for it. That's the key part. Well, I'll probably have enough notes to where now I have to finally pay for Apple. iCloud.
Sooner or later, Apple gets you, man. You think you get something for free? Come on.
Yeah. Eventually there. Okay. Next week we are here. I think we're here maybe the next week too, but then the week after that we're not. Because then you're in Paris.
Yeah, the week I'm traveling to Paris, the Friday before KubeCon.
When is that? Oh, you're leaving the Friday before KubeCon?
Yes.
Oh, so I didn't know that. So actually we're going to miss 2 weeks then.
Sunday.
So we're going to miss... Oh, that's right, because you're doing rejects. on the weekend.
Yeah.
So there's going to be 2 Fridays that we miss. Okay.
I need to double check my travel schedule. Maybe I'm traveling before.
No, that's fine.
Maybe I can try. We'll see.
That's fine. That'll give me a couple weeks to build out more AI fun for everybody to see.
Yeah.
I've been looking more at Crew AI again for a couple of use cases, but Python is just enough of a friction point for me to where it's like, I just don't want to deal. I mean, I understand it. I can track, everything makes sense. It's like, oh yeah, just use these other 6 libraries. It's like, okay, I guess I better break that model in my head because.
I mean, yeah, I feel that the stage we are right now with AI is that everybody's trying to figure out, okay, so this is cool. There's something to it, but what do we use it for? I think that's the phase we are right now. Kind of, this is very cool. What's it for?
Well, to me, like the Apple Notes thing is pretty cool, right? So it's cool. It's got the cool factor.
Yeah. No, there is also usefulness, but I'm thinking more in a bigger scale, kind of like what is this really going to do for us, right? Right now, it's mostly limited to this is a faster Google search or faster Stack Overflow search, right? Or faster search through your and summarization. It's kind of it's a advanced crawler in a way, right?
It's a point solution right now.
Yeah.
Which is okay because point solutions is where we live day to day. But how do we get more out of that? I don't know yet. I was just trying to not have to go back and learn Python after all these years. I haven't done serious Python in probably 15 years.
Sounds like that.
And guess what?
Well.
It hasn't changed much at all.
No. Hey, it changed to now it's really on Python 3.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, because it was Python 2 before.
The last time I used it, like 15, 20 years ago, 15 maybe, it was still, okay, is it 2 or 3?
Yeah. Is it 2 or 3? Yeah. But now it's 3.
2? I don't know yet. But by the way, whatever you write, you're going to be in deep trouble because it's not going to work on one of those 2.
That's the one guarantee with Python. But anyway. So anyway, thanks everybody for being here. If you were watching on LinkedIn or Twitter, I'll probably do that one more week with those 2, and then I'll probably drop back to just YouTube. Because I wanted to test out a couple things here and see how it works. And it seems to work okay now. I'd forgotten that LinkedIn had opened up to everybody because it used to be private. You had to get in. So yeah, we can do that now too.
Nice.
So if we ever get Patrick to come on and do things live, he can go to all the platforms. That's the reason why I'm testing this. Is if we ever get Patrick here live to do a Patrick thing, that's when we need to make sure it all works. So at this point, I think it does all work. Okay, we'll be back next week. I'm not sure about the next 2 weeks. Now we really have to start looking at calendars. Can you believe the year's almost 3 months over? Well, today's day 1, but
only 3 months over?
It's been one of those weeks, hasn't it? Holy cow. All right. Thanks, everybody, for being here. We'll talk to you again next week.